Welcome to today's webinar. We're going to be getting started in just a couple of minutes. The directions to get started are on the slide that I'm sharing. There are written and visual directions to guide you. If closed captioning would aid your learning today, please find the closed caption button on your Zoom toolbar. Click the up arrow button, and on the menu that pops up, select Show Subtitle. If you would like to listen to today's webinar in Spanish, please find the interpretation button on your Zoom toolbar. Click the up arrow button, and on the menu that pops up, select Spanish to listen to a live interpretation of today's webinar. Lastly, you may have questions come up throughout the webinar. Please submit questions by finding the Q&A button on your Zoom toolbar. You can click the button and will be prompted to type in your question. We are going to provide a frequently asked questions document on our website at the healthymealsincentives.org. If you have a specific question regarding your school food authority, please email support@healthymealsincentives.org. This webinar is going to be recorded and shared on our website by the end of this week. If you're just now joining us, welcome. We're going to be getting started in another minute or two. We have directions on the slide. There are written and visual directions to guide you. So if closed captioning would aid your learning today, please find the closed caption button on your Zoom toolbar. Click the up arrow button, and on the menu that pops up, select Show Subtitle. If you would like to listen to today's webinar in Spanish, please find the interpretation button on your Zoom toolbar. Click the up arrow button, and on the menu that pops up, select Spanish to listen to a live interpretation of today's webinar. And lastly, if you have any questions that come up throughout the webinar, please submit those questions by finding the Q&A button on your Zoom toolbar. You can click the button and you'll be prompted to type in the questions. We are going to have a frequently asked questions document on our website at healthymealsincentives.org. If you have a specific question regarding your school food authority, please email support@healthymealsincentives.org.
Welcome to our second webinar about the USDA Food and Nutrition Services Healthy Meals Incentives Grants for small and/or rural school food authorities. Today, we are excited to have Cindy Long, Administrator of the USDA Food and Nutrition Service, join us as a special guest. Whether you are a school food service director, a nutrition educator, or anyone else interested in improving child nutrition, we believe that you will find the session informative and engaging. So let's dive in and learn more about this grant opportunity together. I'd like our webinar team to introduce themselves to you today, moving from left to right. I'm Barb McCurra. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the Healthy Meals Incentive Program Director for Action for Healthy Kids.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maureen Bailey, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the Professional Development and Evaluation Senior Manager for the Healthy Meals Incentives Program at Action for Healthy Kids and RMC Health.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Laura Smith. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the Executive Director of Programs with the Chef Ann Foundation.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kate Havlick, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm the Program Coordinator for RMC Health, and I'm also serving as technical support for today's webinar. So if you need any assistance with technology for the next hour and a half, please send me a direct message in the chat, and I will do my best to help. Thank you.
I hope everyone could see today's agenda. We've already covered the welcome and introductions. And next we'll review the highlights of the Healthy Meal Incentives Grant Request for Applications, or the RFA. Then we'll review the grant scoring criteria, which will be followed by a review of how to register on the Action for Healthy Kids grant portal so that you can complete a grant application. And then we'll talk about approved grant expenditures. And then we'll wrap up with answering some of the frequently asked questions. So our objectives for today's webinar are to review the Healthy Meal Incentives Grant Request for Application requirements, describe how to apply for the Healthy Meals Incentives Grant, and identify what expenses can be approved. We're grateful to the USDA Food and Nutrition Service for funding the Healthy Meals Incentives initiatives. We see this partnership as a wonderful opportunity to connect and follow through on all of our organizational commitments to ensure every student has access to healthy meals. We're so honored that Cindy Long, Administrator of the USDA Food and Nutrition Service, is here today to provide opening remarks and help us announce the availability of the grants for small and/or rural school food authorities. Welcome, Cindy. We're pleased to have you joining us today.
Thank you so much, Barbara, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm just really delighted to join you here today to help kick off this webinar on how you can be part of our Healthy Meals Incentive Initiative. Before you hear from the panel of technical experts, I just want to take a minute and share some context for the initiative and why I hope you'll consider getting involved. As Barbara said, I'm Cindy Long, and I'm currently the administrator of the USDA's Food and Nutrition Service, or FNS. But as many of you know, prior to becoming the administrator back in September of 2021, I served for many years as a career employee at FNS and previously was a deputy administrator for the child nutrition programs, which continue to hold a very close and special place in my heart. You know, our federal child nutrition programs are such an incredibly impactful tool for supporting kids and families. And the Biden-Harris administration is fully committed to using every mechanism we have to support these programs and help our children learn and thrive. We believe that a healthier future for our country starts with our kids, and I'm sure you believe that as well. That's why at FNS, we're working with partners across the nation to support child nutrition operators in serving healthy and appealing meals and in breaking down barriers which present challenges to that goal. We know that we need to ensure that our nutrition assistance programs and resources are adapting to evolving needs and circumstances, and that all of our collective efforts build on each other to help meet kids' nutritional needs from birth through childhood and beyond. The Healthy Meals Incentive, the HMI, is just one example of this. At the end of last year, FNS established the Healthy Meals Incentive Initiative to provide direct support to school districts to help enhance the nutritional quality of school meals, to recognize them for their use of innovative practices to make meals healthy and appealing, and to support sharing of these innovative ideas and practices. This initiative plays an important role in fulfilling FNS's commitment to support the national strategy on hunger, nutrition, and health, which is a strategy that emerged from the historic White House conference that the president convened last year. And it does this by creating healthier food environments and enhancing the nutritional quality of school meals. We are very excited that Action for Healthy Kids, in collaboration with the Chef Ann Foundation and RMC Health, were awarded the cooperative agreement to help implement the Healthy Meals Incentive Initiative. Each of these organizations has a long-standing and clear commitment to supporting healthy kids and a specialized skill set to support this work. The first phase of our $100 million Healthy Meals Incentive Initiative, which the Action for Healthy Kids will facilitate, will recognize school districts that are already going above and beyond in the nutritional quality of their meals. And we'll also provide grants to small and rural school districts to help them overcome challenges they may face in making their meals healthy and appealing. All of us at USDA recognize that school meal providers are such invaluable partners in feeding our school children. We know that across the country, for so many students, school meals are the main source of meals in their diet. So when we invest in and help our school operating partners invest in nutritious and appealing school meals, we build and support positive outcomes for students, for their families, for teachers, and their communities. We are thrilled that we are now at the point where the requests for application for the small and rural school districts are now available. We are hoping for and expecting a really strong applicant pool so that we can bring forward the very best ideas to fruition. I encourage you all to innovate, to be forward-leaning, and be resourceful as you're developing proposals to submit, and really seize on this unique opportunity to advance our common goals that, in service of the children of this country, especially those from small town and rural America that are so critical to our future. So in closing, I want to thank you for your partnership and your commitment to healthy eating and good nutrition for our children, and by extension for their families and their communities. I am very excited to learn more about your innovative work in the times to come and how we can support you going forward. So let me turn it back to Barbara so that she and her team can provide more details about this important opportunity.
Barb, you're on mute.
Cindy, thank you so much. It's an honor to be part of such a noteworthy initiative aimed at improving the health of our nation's children by providing them with access to nutritious school meals. We recognize that school nutrition professionals nationwide have been working hard to serve students while encountering numerous obstacles. The Healthy Meals Incentives Initiatives from the United States Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Services will play a pivotal role in helping school nutrition professionals overcome these challenges and achieve success. Well, the grant application portal opened yesterday, April 10th at noon Eastern Standard Time. The last day to submit applications will be May 26th, when the grant portal closes at 5:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We anticipate awarding up to 240 schools with Healthy Meals Incentives grants. So you're wondering who's eligible to apply? As we've said, this grant application is open to small and/or rural school food authorities in the United States, or the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Guam, or the United States Virgin Islands. School food authorities that meet this definition are eligible to apply for a minimum of up to $10,000 or up to $150,000, as long as they have less than 5,000 students enrolled or are assigned the locality code of 41, 42, or 43. In order to determine if your school food authority is assigned a locality code of 41, 42, or 43, please use the link being shared in the chat. We've had questions about the definition of a school food authority. School food authorities are typically the school district or the entity within the school district that operates the school food service. The school food authority holds the highest level of responsibility for ensuring that school meals meet federal nutrition guidelines, managing program funds, and complying with regulations related to food safety and sanitation and waste reduction. If you are the governing body responsible for administering the National School Lunch or School Breakfast Program for your school, then you would be considered the school food authority and are eligible to apply for these grants. Please note that a school food authority cannot be a food service management company or a community organization for the purposes of this grant. There are three main objectives for offering these grants. The grant activities that you outline in your grant application should be clearly aligned with at least one or all three of these grant objectives. The first objective is grant funds will help school food authorities overcome the challenges in the improvement of nutritional quality of their school meals due to limited staffing or difficulty in accessing training, increased food costs due to limited purchasing power, lack of physical space, and/or outdated kitchen equipment. The second objective, grant funds will help improve the nutritional quality of school food authorities, school meals, and support the areas of the proposed updates to the school meal standards and maintain consistency with the dietary guidelines for Americans by focusing grant activities on one or more of the areas outlined on the following slides. In order for your grant application to meet the second objective, your application should seek to do at least one of the following, but of course, could address all of the areas. You could choose to reduce the amount of added sugars in school breakfast program meals. You could choose to reduce the amount of sodium in national school lunch program meals. You could engage students in local menu planning efforts, taste testing, and nutrition education activities. You could feature local agricultural products in your meal plans. You could increase whole grain rich menu items. You could work collaboratively with students and the community to provide nutritious menu options that reflect the cultures of students at school. You could incorporate scratch prepared menu items into the breakfast and/or lunch meal plans. You could implement innovative practices and nutrition education activities. So on to the third and final grant objective then. After using grant funds to make improvements to the school meals outlined in objectives 1 and 2, grant recipients are required to apply for one or more of the Healthy Meals Incentives Recognition Awards to demonstrate to their students and community that nutritious meals are critically important to support child health and school achievement. More information about the Healthy Meal Incentives Recognition Awards can be found in Appendix D of the request for application document found on the Healthy Meals Incentives website. Unlike the grants, these recognition awards are open to all school food authorities participating in the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Program. So we'll move into the request for application document that was released yesterday. This document provides school food authorities with important details and requirements for completing the Healthy Meals Incentives grant application. We encourage you to read the document in its entirety before you begin your grant application information. There are 6 components of the online application. You'll get to see some of the screenshots a little later in the presentation. But for now, we would like to share with you the highlights of each component of the application process. The 6 components are the school food authority information, project information, key personnel, and project design and implementation, which will include a budget table and a project plan. And finally, organizational supports, which includes several different letters of support. Once again, the request for application document will provide a great deal of additional information on how to apply. Your best opportunity for designing a successful application that meets all the criteria is to access the request for application document that you can find on the healthymealincentives.org website. Now I'm going to turn it over to Maureen to cover each component of the application.
Thank you, Barb. In the School Food Authority information section, applicants will be asked to provide contact details and general information about their school food authority, including the total number of schools in the SFA and the number of schools that participate in the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program. In this section of the application, the applicant's eligibility as a small and/or rural school food authority will be automatically predetermined based on the data from the National Center for Education Statistics. If it is determined that the school food authority is not eligible, the applicant will receive an email alert. In the project information section of the grant application, applicants will describe how the grant project will be implemented, including the appropriate use of grant funds, how outcomes will be measured, and how the project activities will be sustained after the end of the period of performance. So what are some ways we can measure outcomes? If your project focuses on scratch cooking, you could collect baseline data of how much sugar and sodium are in meals currently provided to students. And then once you make those necessary changes to move to scratch cooking, you can assess how much less sugar and sodium are in those school meals. If your project has a component that looks at menu planning, one measurable outcome could be the extent to which students were involved in that planning process. In the key personnel section, applicants will have up to 1,500 characters to provide information about the designated project coordinator for the grant, including their qualifications and experience related to the activities of the grant. They should have experience in grant management, such as grant reporting, project coordination and management, managing a budget, school nutrition operations, and other skills that will ensure the overall project success. In the project design and implementation section of this grant, you'll be able to complete a budget table and project plan table. The budget table includes expenses by category. Expense categories include school food capital equipment, small equipment and supplies, staffing and training, contractual services, food for school meal food samples and supplies for student taste test events, nutrient analysis software, travel costs related to training needs, and other direct costs specifically to assist in the provision of healthier school meals as described in the Healthy Meals Incentives Recognition Awards criteria. Later in this webinar, we're going to review the types of expenses that are approved in each category. Per unit and total costs for each item must be included in that budget table. You'll be able to enter this information into the online application and you will not need to upload a separate document. We'll look more closely at the budget table and the application later in today's webinar. The Healthy Meals Incentives Grant application also requires a project plan and timeline detailing the tasks and responsible persons by quarter throughout the grant period. Major activities involved in the project plan and estimated dates of completion for each activity must be listed. Be sure to include the estimated date of when you will apply for the Healthy Meals Incentives Recognition Awards. You'll be able to enter this information into the online application, and again, you do not need to upload a separate document for this. Please remember to save your application frequently. You do not need to complete it at one time, but it does not save automatically, so it'll be important to hit save. In the organizational support section of this grant, applicants must include at least one letter of support from the project coordinator supervisor indicating full support for the grant project and articulating how the grant project will contribute to cafeteria, classroom, community connections, and nutritional improvements to the school meal programs. Applicants must also include a letter of support from their state agency to confirm the school food authority does not have any outstanding corrective actions and that any previous findings have been resolved. The applicant must use the template provided in the application for the state agency letter of support. Applicants also have the option to include 2 letters of support from project partners who will work with the school food authority to support the grant project and speak to how the grant work will contribute to cafeteria, classroom, community connections, and nutritional improvements to the applicant's school meal programs. Think about who you can partner with on your project. Perhaps you could work with an extension office to support training design, or you could work with an emerging farmer or business like a local chef. Letters can be typed on letterhead, handwritten, or provided via email to the applicant. Letters will be uploaded as part of the application process, and there are templates of letters that can be found within the application for the applicant to download, fill, and upload. Templates can also be found on the Healthy Meals Incentives website. So now that we've covered the different components of the application, I'm going to hand it off to Laura to review the scoring criteria for each section.
Thank you, Maureen. Now we're going to talk about the subgrant application scoring criteria and what application reviewers will be looking for. There are a total of 64 points with the possibility to receive an additional 9 bonus points. There are 5 criteria for your project narrative, 2 for measurable outcomes, 3 for student and community engagement, 2 for your work plan and timeline, 5 for your budget table and narrative, and 1 for the overall quality of your proposal. Each criterion is scored from 0 to 3, with 0 being the lowest and 3 being an excellent score. There are 2 criteria for your project coordinator explanation, and those will be rated from 0 to 5, with 5 being excellent. There are also an additional 3 bonus criteria rated from 0 to 3, again with 3 being excellent. As a reminder, in total, there are 64 possible points with up to an additional 9 points. Now let's talk about the scoring criteria categories. The first scoring category is the project narrative. This section will be scored by the following 5 criteria. The proposal includes a purpose and goals and a plan to improve nutritional quality of school meals and move towards the implementation of the proposed updates to the school meal standards. Number 2, the proposal demonstrates that the project is likely to help the applicant in overcoming staffing, training, food purchasing, and/or supplies and equipment challenges, and move towards the implementation of the proposed updates to school meal standards. Number 3, the proposal includes a description of efforts to reduce added sugars, reduce sodium, and/or increase whole grain rich products. Number 4, the proposal includes a description of efforts to increase the use of local agricultural products. And number 5, the proposal includes a description of efforts to integrate nutrition education and marketing as a part of the school meal experience. Proposals with these components clearly defined, comprehensively described, and providing specific and compelling rationale will earn a score of excellent and 3 points for each criteria. The second scoring category is measurable outcomes. This section will be scored by 2 criteria. The proposal demonstrates the applicant's ability to assess the short and medium-term outcomes of the project. And second, the proposal includes a plan to sustain the project outcomes after the end of the performance period. Again, proposals with these components clearly defined and well thought out with sustainable plans will earn a score of excellent and 3 points for each criteria. The third category is student and community engagement. This category will be scored by the following 3 criteria. The applicant demonstrates a plan to create connections between the community, cafeteria, and classroom with taste tests, surveys, cooking demonstrations, social media campaigns, advisory groups, or other engagement tactics. 2, the applicant demonstrates how activities are likely to build a comprehensive school nutrition environment that maximizes participation in school meal programs by aligning school food service and nutrition education strategies. And 3, all of the required letters of support and recommendation are included. As a reminder, your application should include at least 1 letter of support from the project coordinator supervisor, indicating full support for the project and articulating how the grant project will contribute to that cafeteria, classroom, community connection, and nutritional improvements to school meal programs. You must also include a letter of recommendation from your state agency using the required template, which is available for download near the grant portal on the healthymealsincentives.org website. That letter of recommendation from the state agency will state how the school meal programs will be improved by the grant project. And finally, up to 2 letters of support from project partners will work with the SFAs to support the grant project and speak to how the grant will work to contribute to the cafeteria, classroom, community connections, and the applicant's nutritional improvements to their school meal programs. The 2 letters of support from project partners are optional and not a requirement as part of the application. Proposals with these components clearly defined and well supported will earn a score of excellent and 3 points for each criteria. The fourth scoring category is the project plan and timeline. This section will be scored by 2 criteria. The application demonstrates that the applicant has researched and has plans for the implementation of all project activities for training and/or sourcing and purchasing. And 2, the project plan demonstrates the applicant's ability to carry out the project. Proposals with these components clearly articulated and including a high amount of detail will earn a score of excellent and 3 points for each criteria. The 5th category is the budget table and budget narrative. This section will be scored by the following 5 category criteria. The applicant demonstrates that all costs are necessary, reasonable, and allocable to carry out the project's purpose and goals. 2, the applicant clearly describes how costs within the budget categories were derived. 3, the applicant identifies linkages between expenditures and specific activities and tasks. The proposal describes a plan for tracking expenditures and fulfilling reporting requirements for reimbursable expenses. And the applicant adequately demonstrates that any equipment purchases will directly support project activities. Proposals with these 5 components thoroughly and clearly articulated will earn a score of excellent and 3 points for each criteria. The 6th category is the overall quality of the proposal. This section will be scored with 1 category criteria. That is, the application is concise and uses plain, easily understood language. The applicant should answer all questions completely within the character limits specified in the grant application. Proposals that are easy to understand, brief, and meet all the requirements will earn a score of excellent and 3 points for this criterion. And finally, the 7th core scoring category is project coordinator. This section has 2 criteria that will be evaluated. 1, the application demonstrates that the project coordinator has the necessary qualifications and experience to ensure completion of the project as described. And 2, the application includes a contingency plan in the event that the project coordinator leaves the project. Proposals with these components thoroughly and clearly articulated will earn a score of excellent and 5 points for each category criteria. Proposals may also be eligible for bonus points. There are 3 criteria that may earn bonus points. First, the application identifies how the grant will intentionally serve diverse populations, especially populations experiencing inequities and/or disparities. 2, the applicant describes an intention to work with socially disadvantaged or emerging farmers and business owners, including plans for identifying and establishing relationships with socially disadvantaged and emerging farmers and business owners in the community. And 3, the School Food Authority includes tribally controlled schools or schools operated under the Bureau of Indian Education. Proposals with these components thoroughly and clearly articulated may earn a score of excellent and up to 3 points for each bonus criteria. As a reminder, in total, excellent applications can earn up to 64 points with a possible 9 additional bonus points. Now I'm going to hand it back over to Maureen to talk about the grant portal.
Thank you, Laura. So in order to access the Action for Healthy Kids portal, where you're going to submit your grant application, you're going to go to the Healthy Meals Incentives website. The link of the site is being shared in the chat, and you can also scan the QR code on the screen. When you get to the Healthy Meals Incentives website, you're going to scroll down to the section that says Grant Portal. Select Go to Portal. In order to access the grant application, you'll first need to register on the Action for Healthy Kids portal. Once you have an account on this portal, you'll see the portal homepage. From here, you're going to select My School/District. In order to access the grant, you must select your district. Any small and or rural school food authority within the United States or the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Guam, or the United States Virgin Islands is eligible to apply for this grant. To find your district, scroll down to where it says add a new school/district connection. If you cannot find your district, click where it says here at the bottom of the page, and someone will be able to help you with finding or adding your district. Once you've registered for the portal and selected your district, you're ready to apply for the grant. As a reminder, the grant application is going to be open until May 26th at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. After registering your school district, you'll select the Grants tab at the top of the screen. Then you're going to select the Healthy Meals Incentives. Again, any small and or rural district in the United States, District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Guam, or the U.S. Virgin Islands is eligible to apply for this funding. Once you select the Healthy Meals Incentives grant page, you'll see more information about this grant and the steps for completing the grant application. To start the grant application, you're going to select the district that you registered in step 3. Now you're ready to begin the application. You'll be able to complete the grant in any order you choose by navigating through the different tabs. Be sure to save frequently, as it will not automatically save. If you experience any challenges with the application process, please send your question or challenge to support@healthymealsincentives.org. This email address is being shared in the chat. As a reminder, applicants must be small and or rural school food authorities to be eligible for this grant. Your eligibility as a small and or rural school food authority is automatically predetermined based on the data from the National Center for Education Statistics. If it is determined that you are not eligible, you will receive an email alert. Each tab provides different types of spaces to input your responses to the application questions. On tab C for project design and implementation, you're going to complete 2 tables, the project budget table and the project plan table. In the budget table, applicants will list the amount required for each budget category and provide a brief description of why this purchase is needed for the project. In the project table, applicants will outline major activities per quarter of the funded grant period and list who will complete each activity. The request for applications document on our website has examples of budget and project tables in the appendix. And now that we've reviewed the project and budget tables, I'm going to hand it back to Laura to go over the types of things that can be purchased with grant funds.
Great, thanks so much. Now that Maureen has described how to enter project proposal budget needs, we're going to review what can and cannot be included in your budget as eligible or ineligible expenses. On your screen, you'll see a list of things that can be funded with this grant. It's important to note that only 25% of funding can be used towards purchasing food. What could the implementation of your grant look like? Your district could replace kitchen equipment to enable scratch cooking. Your district could implement a nutrition education and student engagement plan. Your district could train staff on basic culinary production, production, cooking, and serving skills. Your district could hire staff to source more value-added, minimally processed, and regionally sourced food. And this is a non-exhaustive list. We want to hear your innovative ideas. Funds may be used for capital equipment expenses that directly support the applicant's school meal improvement efforts. Capital equipment is equipment having a useful life of more than 1 year and a cost of $5,000 or more per unit. The cost of shipping and associated installation costs are also allowable costs. Eligible capital equipment includes, but is not limited to, this list on the screen. Funds may also be used to purchase small equipment and supplies that directly support the applicant's school meal improvement efforts. Small equipment and supplies mean all tangible property other than that described in the definition of capital equipment. Small equipment and supplies include but are not limited to what's on the screen. Funds may also be used for salary and benefits for staff directly supporting the project. Your budget must include these costs as separate line items, and the budget narrative should include detailed information about salary, benefits, and the amount of time that each staff member will be allocated to the project. Payment to contractors carrying out grant activities is also an allowable expense. Funds may be used for training staff and contractors to learn information or skills needed to carry out the project. Funds may be used for food purchases for educational purposes, such as recipe testing, farm to school taste tests, or promotional use. Food costs related to conducting a taste test of a new local agricultural product are also deemed an appropriate use of funds. As a reminder, no more than 25% of the grant funds may be used for food purchases, and the purpose of the food must be clearly described and justified in the project narrative, budget, and budget narrative. Remember, the ultimate goal of funded projects should be for long-term changes that will make nutritious food products available on school meal menus. Therefore, purchasing food items should not be the primary use of grant funds. Grant funds may not be used to purchase meals or snacks for training or meeting attendees. On the screen now is a list of items that cannot be funded with this grant. Those include capital improvements, as distinguished from capital equipment, which we previously talked about is allowed. Additional ineligible expenses include construction projects, expenditures incurred outside of the grant period and prior to contract execution, advertising, public relations, entertainment or amusement costs, donated, volunteer, or in-kind services, donations or in-kind contributions, fines, penalties, or other settlement expenses resulting from failure to comply with federal, state, local, or Native American tribal laws and regulations. And also indirect costs, that is expenses of doing business that are not directly connected to the project. Here are some additional items that cannot be funded. Ineligible expenses include fundraising, including financial campaigns, solicitation of gifts and bequests, or similar expenses incurred to raise capital or obtain contributions. Taxes, except sales tax on goods and services, lobbyists or political contributions, bad debts, late payment fees, financial charges, legal costs or contingency funds, and parking or traffic violations. The request for application provides further information about eligible and ineligible expenses. And if you have questions about purchases after reviewing the request for application, please email support@healthymealsincentives.org. Now I'm going to hand it back over to Maureen for a quick activity to get you thinking more about your application.
Thank you, Laura. So now we're going to do a quick word cloud activity. Kate is sharing instructions in the chat, and they are also on the screen. Please scan the QR code on the screen or go to menti.com. If you go to menti.com, use the code 5462642. Respond to the question, what projects are you interested in using the Healthy Meals Incentives Grant for within your school food authority? Examples could include school food service equipment, small equipment and supplies, school food authority staffing and training, food for school meal food samples and supplies for student taste test events, nutrient analysis software, nutrition education, or something else. What are your innovative ideas? We would love to hear them. So we'll give you a couple of minutes to fill this out, and then I'm going to share out that word cloud that gets created. All right, I see there are several who are interested in nutrition education, equipment, some scratch cooking going on. That's exciting. Some staffing, taste testing. Some small equipment supplies. Great. We're so excited to see the ideas that you come up with in the application and can't wait to read all about your projects. And I'm going to pass it over to Kate.
Thank you, Maureen. We have received so many great questions from people interested in applying for these grants, both during this webinar, our past webinar, and also at support@healthymealsincentives.org. We're going to spend a few minutes now answering some of the most frequently asked questions that you might have at this point. Barb, our first question is for you. Are individual charter or private schools eligible to apply?
Well, if you are the governing body responsible for administering the National School Lunch Program or the School Breakfast Program for your school, then you would be considered to be the SFA and you are eligible for these grants.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Barb. Laura, this next question is for you. What are the eligibility requirements to qualify for the grant? Is this for K-8 schools only?
Eligible applicants must be a small and/or rural school food authority participating in the National School Lunch Program and/or School Breakfast Program in the contiguous United States, Hawaii, Alaska, District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the United States Virgin Islands. And it is for K-12 schools.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Laura. Barb, can multiple school food authorities work together and apply collaboratively? This is a question that's come up a couple of times.
Yeah. Well, you must apply as an individual school food authority for this grant. Collaboration can be included as part of your project, but each SFA or school food authority must apply separately and should ensure that they can achieve their own project goals.
Good to know. I know a lot of people were curious about the answer to that question. Now, next question. Maureen, does the school food authority applying for the grant have to be both rural and small? For instance, can small school food authorities in urban markets like Chicago, New York, or Los Angeles apply?
Great question. Thanks, Kate. The school food authority can meet either the small or rural eligibility requirements. You must apply as a school food authority for this grant. Individual schools that are not an SFA are not eligible entities. Schools in urban markets can apply as long as they meet the criteria of being a school food authority and meet the previously shared eligibility requirements of being small, under 5,000 students enrolled.
Perfect. That either or distinction is super helpful. Thank you, Maureen. Laura, our next question is for you. Can a catering company or a food service management contract company that provides meals to schools qualify for this grant?
No, the application must be submitted by a school food authority for this grant. Catering companies or food service management companies are not eligible entities to submit under this application.
Okay, thank you for that. Maureen, in terms of who can apply on behalf of a school or district, could that be a wellness coordinator for a public school district?
So we recommend collaboration between the wellness and food and nutrition departments within the school food authority to decide who is the most qualified to complete the application. Applications must include at least one letter of support from the project coordinator supervisor indicating full support for the grant project and articulating how the grant project will contribute to the cafeteria classroom community connections, as well as nutritional improvements to the school meal programs.
It makes a lot of sense. Thank you for clarifying that. Laura, this next question is for you. If a school food authority is involved with farm to school programs and is looking to expand their initiative, could they use this grant to fund the purchase of new equipment or offset the cost of local foods?
Great question. Funds may be used for capital equipment and small equipment expenses that directly support the applicant's school meal improvement efforts. Up to 25% of total grant funds requested may be used for food purchases for education, such as recipe testing, farm to school taste tests, or promotional use.
Awesome. Thanks to clarify. And let's go a little bit deeper on equipment here. Maureen, can you let us know if there are any limitations to capital improvements with this grant?
Yeah, of course. So capital improvements are ineligible grant expenses. Capital improvements or construction projects, including any major improvement to facilities and infrastructure that would add to the permanent value of the school building, are not eligible expenses. If the building was turned upside down, would that piece of equipment be held in place by a permanent connection such as plumbing? Is it securely affixed? If yes, then it's tied to capital improvements and it may not be paid for with these grant funds. Please note here, for the purpose of this grant, walk-in or reach-in freezers and coolers or refrigerators are eligible as capital equipment expenditures.
Thank you. I know that distinction between capital equipment and capital improvements could be confusing for some folks. So thank you for clarifying that. Laura, for this grant, do supplies count as equipment?
Great question, Kate. Funds may be used to purchase small equipment and supplies that, again, directly support the applicant's school meal improvement efforts. Small equipment and supplies, again, means all tangible property other than capital equipment, and a list of examples can be found in the request for application. If you have a question about supplies not listed in the request for application, please send them to support@healthymealsincentives.org.
Great, thank you so much. Barb, our next question is for you. Does the project coordinator need to meet any years of experience requirements in order to apply?
Yeah, thanks for that question. We've had this come in a couple of different times. So there are no specific requirements for years of experience, but applicants should be able to demonstrate that the project coordinator has the necessary qualifications and experience to ensure completion of the project as described.
Perfect, yeah. Maureen, our next question's for you. Is there any support available for those who might need assistance with completing the application?
Yes, absolutely. We have a support team that can help you with technical assistance with the online application system. They can be reached via email at support@healthymealsincentives.org with Healthy Meals Incentives Grants in the subject line.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that clarification. I know we've had a couple of questions come in today too about response times. Please know that our team will be working as quickly as possible to reply to everybody, but it might take a few days before you hear back from us. Laura, our last question for today is going to be for you. What help will be available to grantees after they've been awarded the grant? What resources will come beyond the funding?
Such an exciting question, and I think a really unique component of this project. So Action for Healthy Kids will work with their partners, Rocky Mountain Health Center for Health Promotion and Education, or RMC Health, and the Chef Ann Foundation to administer these grants. RMC Health is a national leader in professional development for school staff to create and sustain healthy schools. And CAF is dedicated to empowering schools nationwide through tools, training, resources, and the funding they need to serve meals. Collectively, all three partners will provide in-depth, individualized technical assistance and support and guide grantees in overcoming challenges and implementing key strategies to improve school meal quality, meet the Healthy Meals Incentives Recognition Awards criteria, and mitigate any potential roadblocks to success. Training and technical assistance topics include, but are not limited to, menu planning, recipe development, kitchen workflow, food safety, food crediting, inventory management, equipment, labor and staffing, finance and budget development, procurement, commodity selection, contracts, marketing plans, nutrition education, taste tests, and also we'll be implementing communities of practice. Lots of ideas. That's a non-exhaustive list, but we are here to support.
Wow, that is truly incredible and such a unique element to this grant. What an incredible support system in place for grantees. Thank you to all of our panelists for answering these questions. As a reminder to participants, we anticipate posting our frequently asked questions document on the Healthy Meals Incentives website by the end of the week. Your questions provided in the Q&A section will be reviewed and answered through the FAQ document. If you have specific questions relating to your application or eligibility, however, remember that you can always contact support@healthymealsincentives.org. Now I will pass it back over to Barb for our closing section.
Thank you, Kate. So this brings us to the conclusion of our webinar, but I would like to note here that we will have a process available for school food authorities who would like to request language translation support while completing the application. We don't have it quite figured out yet, so directions on how to access the support will be posted in our frequently asked questions document, which, as Kate said, we hope to have posted to the healthymealsincentives.org website by the end of this week. And we have a few reminders for everyone before we go. Now, as we said, the grant application is already open, and yesterday we already had 21 applications started, and so that was very exciting to see. And those, the grant portal will close on May 26th at 5:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. One more reminder, if you have very specific questions about your grant application, please email us at support@healthymealsincentives.org. And finally, please complete the survey that will become available immediately upon closing this webinar. It shouldn't take more than a few minutes to complete and will help us in designing the next webinar. So thank you for attending. Thank you for all you do to serve students. Thank you to all of our panelists today for joining me and delivering this content so that everybody can design and submit a successful grant application. And please contact the email shown on the screen if you have any questions. Thank you and have a lovely day.
Thank you for attending. Please make sure that you take a screenshot of the page that we're looking at right now. We will be closing this webinar in about 2 minutes. Thank you for attending.